Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your leadership on this and your fight for doing what's right, along with Senator Reid. You've done an outstanding job. I appreciate it. Secretary Carson, the fight against homelessness is one that many towns and cities and states across the country are really engaged in. It is a particular struggle for states like mine, Washington State, that is experiencing huge spikes in rent or near zero vacancy rates. This is happening in communities across the state. The city of Seattle and King County have been operating under states of emergency regarding homelessness since late 2015. And the work done by this committee has been instrumental. And I again want to thank our chair, Senator Collins, and Ranking Member Reid for their leadership in creating the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program. I'm incredibly proud of King County's successful application, which will bring them $5.4 million to the region to strengthen our response to this crisis. But there's really a lot more work that has to be done. Just last week, there was a new report that showed that there are nearly 12,000 people experiencing homelessness in Seattle and King County alone. Some of them sleeping in shelters, half sleeping on park benches in their cars. It really is heartbreaking. Local communities in my state are stepping up to increase their housing levies and dedicating additional resources, but the federal government has to be a partner as well. Secretary Carson, I want to ask you, if we can show you that investments like home and CDBG work to reduce homelessness in my home state and states across the country, would you commit to working with us to reverse these massive cuts in your proposed budget?
One of our priorities is dealing with homelessness. And as you probably know, in the last few years, homelessness has gone from 800,000 to just over 500,000, not in small part to some of the programs that have been envisioned and enacted at HUD. We will continue to work with you to make sure that we continue to drive that number down.
Okay, well, we would like the ability to show you how those programs work, so I hope you can commit to working with us on that. Secondly, I want to ask you, I understand from some of your comments in the press that you might not understand the importance of the housing first model. That really recognizes that the most successful way to move an individual out of homelessness is to get them into housing and to provide them any supportive services they might need to stay in a house. The Downtown Emergency Service Center in Seattle is a great model, and it's a pioneer of Housing First when it began using this about 20 years ago. And it has shown us clearly that having a substance disuse disorder should not be a barrier to housing assistance. That way of thinking doesn't work. Do you support the goals of the Housing First model?
I think getting people off the streets is absolutely essential. Somebody who's living under the bridge, you know, there's a strong chance during the course of the year that they're going to end up in the emergency room. They'll end up being hospitalized for a week, which costs more than it costs to put them in a shelter for a year. So I understand that, and I understand those implications. Housing first is a good thing. Getting them off the street, no question about that.
Okay.
However, it must be followed by housing second and housing third. You must decide, you must diagnose the reason, and you must be willing to treat it. Right. And if you really want to be compassionate.
Okay, well, I would like to really encourage you to visit places like the Downtown Emergency Service Center in my state to learn about the importance of housing as a first and necessary step to helping people.
I have no problem with that.
Great. Now, I know HUD works under some really challenging budgetary constraints, particularly with respect to fiscal year 2018. But I just have to say here that I find HUD's proposed budget to be especially troubling in asking for a 15% cut. With rents rising and increased need for affordable housing, I just don't see how it's possible for HUD to actually fulfill its essential role with so few resources. The department requests a cut of nearly $3 billion to rental assistance programs alone. I just have to ask you, how can you propose such a substantial cut to rental assistance with so many families who can't keep a roof over their head today?
I would have probably asked that same question myself a few months ago, but now that I've been in government for 3 months, I got to tell you, there is a lot of waste and inefficiency. And we're going to achieve a lot by doing that. But we're also going to be looking at the new paradigm that I've talked about, getting public and private sector working together. This country is an amazing place with people with very big hearts. I've already talked to a number of people in the private sector who are very willing to help with some of the visions that we have. And they're not really getting anything back for it.
Okay, well, a lot more to talk about that. I just want to raise one quick thing. The issue of leadership at our regional level, Region 10, based in Seattle. We have benefited from really strong leadership in the past from Donna Batch and Bill Block, and I've heard over and over again from stakeholders in my state that the region has been attentive to their needs, and that cooperative spirit really makes a difference. So I just want to tell you, it's really essential that you move swiftly to nominate some regional administrators who share that passion and dedication and experience that it takes to do that. And I am happy to work with you on that process. We've got some great people in the state willing to do that, but I'm concerned that this has been delayed.
I share your concern in some of the delays, and it's been somewhat difficult for me not having people in all the essential positions. But in a way, it's forced me to learn a lot real quick.
Oh, thank you very much.